I love IKEA. In my opinion, it's the best place to get stylish pieces at a price point that most of us can afford. But not everything at IKEA is actually worth bringing home. Some pieces are classics that will elevate your home, while others, let's just say, that will make your home look like the showroom you just left. So in this video, I'll guide you through what to buy and what to avoid at IKEA, in my opinion. Before we begin, let me just apologize to my Swedish viewers beforehand, because I will most likely say all those product names wrong, but alright, let's get started. So let's start with armchairs, because this is one of those categories that IKEA has some big hits and also some big misses. So let's go over the ones that I think you should skip first. The first one is the Poang. I know, it's a classic. Everyone has seen it and maybe even owned one at some point. I did. But the problem is, it's everywhere. And exactly because of that, it's too generic. It immediately gives you a space that I live in an IKEA showroom vibe. So if you're trying to make your home look more curated and more personal, I'll just avoid that. There are much better alternatives. Then there's the Ekero and the Herakra. These two just give me doctor office waiting room energy. They've got those stiff square shapes, the seat is a bit too shallow, and the legs look like they could snap if you leaned the wrong way. They're also not particularly comfortable, so when we're talking about an armchair, comfort is really important. So I'll just skip those. And to be honest, any IKEA chair that has those flimsy legs. The Vedbo is another one that looks fine at first glance, but it's literally everywhere in IKEA stores. They actually use those in the cafeteria, in the waiting rooms and stuff like that, so it just looks so generic. And to make matters worse, the seat cushion doesn't hold up very well. Over time, it gets this saggy, tired look that makes the chair instantly look cheap. So this one's a no. And lastly, the Stockholm 2025 armchair. Okay, so this one is sneaky because it just looks amazing. The materials are top-notch, the design looks high-end. But the moment you actually sit down, you realize it's one of the most uncomfortable chairs ever. And I don't know about you, but when I'm shopping for an armchair, comfort is an absolute must-have. Beautiful design doesn't mean much if nobody wants to sit in it. Okay, but enough of negativity. Let's talk about the ones that I actually think are worth the money. My top pick has to be the Ekena set. This is one of those pieces that truly look more expensive than it actually is. It has a solid wood frame, those clean mid-century modern lines, and it just works with so many different styles. Whether a place leans more minimalist, eclectic, or even traditional, this one blends in beautifully. And it's also sturdy and well built, and this is not something you can say about every IKEA chair. Another one that I really like is the Purse Ball. This one leans more traditional in style, but it's so comfortable and has a real presence in the room. The proportions are generous, the construction feels solid, and unlike some of the boxy chairs at IKEA, it actually invites you to sink in and relax. And I think it could fit in most interior styles as well, especially the more classic ones. And then there's the Divlinga. This one I would recommend if you're looking for something with a bit more personality. It has a very stylish shape, almost sculptural, and it's surprisingly comfortable. I think it works especially well if your home has that eclectic or mid-century influences. It's the kind of chair that instantly makes a corner look designed, not just furnished. From the first time that I saw this chair on the internet, I knew this would be a hit. And it really took a long time for it to come to Canada, so I was really excited to see it in person. Right now I'm trying to find a spot in my home where I could put one, because I really liked it. Oh, and let me give a quick shout out to some of IKEA's ottomans. They don't always get enough attention, but some of them are really good, especially the ones with storage inside, like the Forlunda and the Oskarsham. Those are great. They have that minimalist look that would look good in most interiors, and because of the hidden storage, it's a great multifunctional piece, especially for smaller spaces. But the one that I love the most is the Tokning. I have one. It's right there. It's woven, so it adds a ton of natural texture to your room, and when you open it, there's loads of space inside. Perfect for storing blankets, pillows, or all the stuff you don't want lying around. Okay, so now that we talked about chairs, let's move on to the next category. Let's talk about sofas, and this is a big one, because your sofa is probably the most important piece of furniture that you would have in the living room. So comfort really matters here, but also how it looks, because it really occupies a lot of visual space. And unfortunately, IKEA has a few sofas that I really think you just should avoid. Let's start with the Glostad. On the website, it doesn't look too bad, but in person, it's one of the flimsiest, cheapest looking sofas you'll ever see. The cushions are thin, the armrests are hard, and the whole frame feels like it might wobble apart if you sat on it too hard. Yes, it's affordable, but it's one of those times where you get what you pay for really applies. A sofa is something you're gonna use every single day. In my opinion, it's just not worth saving a couple $100s to get something like this and be uncomfortable for years. Then there's the Linanas. It's basically in the same category as the Glonstad. The wooden legs are a tiny bit nicer, but the overall design still looks cheap. And comfort-wise, it's just not there. If you're buying a sofa, you want it to feel like a sofa, not like a padded bench. The Longarid is a bit different. This one is actually comfortable. So you sit down and think, okay, this might be a good one. But design-wise, it's not great, in my opinion. The bubbly shapes make it look kind of awkward. And then they paired it with the shiny chrome legs, which just cheapens the whole look. Alright, so what you should buy instead? The Aplarid is one of my absolute favorites, and it's actually a great alternative to the Longarid. It has such a timeless design. Clean lines, really sleek, and it honestly looks like something you'd find in a much more expensive store. It comes in different sizes and colors, so it works whether you're in a small apartment or a bigger home, and it's actually comfortable. It's one of those IKEA pieces that looks high-end and also feels great. Then there's the Hiltar. I think this one is a little underrated. It has such a chic, classic look with the skirt hiding the legs, which gives it this very tailored, put-together vibe, and it's actually very comfortable. You can get it in a bunch of sizes and even as a sofa bed. So it's really versatile. Honestly, I think it can work in almost any style, and this sofa is one of my favorites at IKEA. And finally, the Stockholm 2025 sofa with wooden legs. This one is a showstopper. The proportions are generous, the seats are deep, and the solid wood details bring a lot of warmth. It has that combination of comfort and design that makes it feel like a centerpiece for your living room. Quick honorable mention here. I wanted to talk about the other sofa in the Stockholm 2025 line, the modular one. Online, it looks amazing. When I saw it for the first time, I was really excited about this one. But as it turns out, it doesn't feel as good in person. I think the fabric feels cheap and it's not that comfortable. So if you're aiming for that modular look, I think there is a better alternative at IKEA. The Jatebo. This one is super comfortable, has storage built in, and still gives you that flexibility of a modular system. But it actually feels like something you want to sit on every day. Okay, moving on to the next category, let's talk about coffee tables. And in this one, IKEA is definitely a mixed bag. There are a few pieces that can elevate your living room beautifully, but also quite a few that feel dated and cheap once you see them in person. So let's start with the ones that I would avoid. The Lack coffee table is probably one of IKEA's most recognizable pieces. And honestly, this is kind of part of the problem, just like with the Poang chair. It's so generic and the boxy design doesn't help. The wood veneer versions are even worse. They have this striped effect that cheapens the look instantly. So if you're trying to make your home warm and inviting, this is just not the piece that's gonna get you there. If you're just looking for functionality, that's fine. But for everything else, I would just skip this one. Next is the Idanas. This table, in my opinion, is just stuck in a different era. The proportions and details make it look so outdated. And no matter what style you have at home, it's hard to see this working well in today's interiors. IKEA has just so many other options in similar price points that I think you should just skip this one. And finally, the Stockholm nesting tables. On paper, they sound great. A different shape with some flexibility. But in reality, the tops have a veneer that looks plasticky and cheap, and the shapes themselves just feel awkward in my opinion. It's one of those items that look much better in the catalog than you would ever will in your home. Okay, now on to the good stuff. If you have a larger living room, the Stockholm long oval coffee table is a great choice. The oval shape makes it feel lighter and easier to walk around compared to a bulky rectangle. Plus, it has this beautiful textural detail underneath that adds just enough interest without being overwhelming. It's one of those pieces that look more expensive than it actually is. The Borgby is another winner if you're looking for something simple but effective. It's still affordable, but the design feels more thought out compared to some of the cheaper alternatives. I really like the extra tray shelf underneath. It's practical for books or remotes and helps keep the top surface clutter-free. For something with a bit more presence, the Stockholm 2025 coffee table can be a good choice. In the dark brown finish, the veneer doesn't try to be something it's not, and this is a good thing. If you want a little bit more drama, there's another coffee table in the Stockholm 2025 line, this round one with the glass tabletop. It has this sculptural base that feels both bold and minimal at the same time. I really like this one. And finally, the Yatesta. This is probably one of my favorites. It is very modern, but still timeless, thanks to its clean lines. I love the black version. It's affordable, sleek, and works as a great stage for whatever styling pieces you want to display. As a quick honorable mention, let me just talk briefly about media consoles. I would stay away from the super popular and generic Kallax, the Fialbo, or the Brimnas. They are everywhere, and they do very little to elevate a space. Instead, I would go for the Besta system. It's so versatile. You can choose the size, the doors, the finishes, and with just a little creativity, you can make it even look like a beautine. There are tons of hacks out there. Just look for IKEA Besta hacks on social media and you will be surprised with how good they could look. Okay, moving on. Now let's talk about dining furniture. And I'll be honest with you, dining table and chairs are probably one of my least favorite categories at IKEA. I just think you can find much better alternatives elsewhere with a similar price point. But that being said, I still think there are a few good picks here. But first, let's start with the tables that I would absolutely skip. The Lisabo is one of IKEA's best sellers, but to me, it just feels way too generic. The ultralight wood finish gives off children furniture vibes to me. It doesn't add much character to a dining space. And when you put it together with matching chairs, it can really make your home feel flat and uninspired. Then there's the Skogstad. At first glance, you might think, okay, solid wood. That's a great choice. But the problem is the heavy wood grain variation on the tabletop. It's so busy that it actually distracts from the rest of the room. Personally, I don't think it's a great look. It feels rustic in a way that doesn't blend well with the pieces around. So now on to the pieces that I do recommend. The Morbilonga is, in my opinion, the best dining table today at IKEA. And it's actually a good replacement for the one that I was mentioning previously. The proportions are spot on, the design feels timeless, and the wood veneer looks much richer than most of the other options. It also comes in multiple sizes, including a round version, so it's a great alternative for different spaces. And speaking of round tables, the Docksta is a good alternative if you're looking for something simple but with a bit more personality. It's inspired by the classic tulip table design, which has been a staple in interiors for decades. Pair it with the right chairs and it instantly elevates your dining area without trying too hard. Now let's move on to chairs, and I will say, again, I think you can find better alternatives elsewhere, but there are still a few that are worth looking at. The ones that I would avoid, like no matter what, are anything like the Krylbo or similar models with metal legs. Those legs just scream cheap. They wobble over time and visually they take away from the warmth that dining furniture should bring. Besides, there are a few chairs at IKEA that just look like children's chairs. I would never get this. They're just so small and undersized. I don't know. Then there's the Ballstar. Honestly, I find this one almost offensive. And for $250, Please, no. Ugly and overpriced. Another one that looks promising but ends up disappointing is the Skogsbo. At first glance, it seems great. Solid wood construction, clean lines, but when you actually sit on it, it's flimsy and uncomfortable, unfortunately. I felt like I was sleeping forward, so it makes it very hard to sit back and relax. So unfortunately, that's another no. On the opposite side, the Skogsa chair is a solid choice at a reasonable price point. It's simple, solid wood, and more comfortable than the Skogsbo. For the price, it's hard to complain. Then there's the Nakanas. I really like this one. The acacia wood frame has a nice warmth, and the woven seat not only looks good, but it's surprisingly comfortable. It's one of those pieces that adds texture without being overwhelming. And finally, my favorite, the Skanoras. This chair looks much more expensive than it actually is, in my opinion. The dark wood frame paired with the beige paper cord seat is such a timeless combination. It feels high quality, it's sturdy, and it works in everything from Scandinavian-inspired spaces to more traditional homes. If you're going to get chairs at IKEA, this is the one that I would recommend. Finally, let's talk about beds. IKEA has a lot of options, but some are hits and some are, well, let's say you might regret them later. I really like beds with storage, and I think the most popular one at IKEA is the Malm. I know, it's super popular and it looks nice in the showroom, I guess, but the construction feels flimsy and over time it just doesn't hold up well. Instead, I would invest a bit more and get the Tonstad. This piece looks amazing in person. It's probably my favorite bed frame at IKEA at the moment. It feels solid, built to last, and actually elevates your bedroom. The design is simple but refined, and the storage drawers are sturdy, so it's functional and beautiful. When it comes to upholstered bed frames, the Turnkullen or anything like that is one to avoid. The fabric is thin, the frame feels cheap, and it doesn't have that luxurious, inviting look you want in a bedroom. On the other hand, the Tofjord is a completely different experience. The headboard is soft and well padded, the construction feels solid, and it has that kind of understated elegance that makes the whole room feel more expensive than it actually is. It's one of those pieces that you sit in and think, okay, this is like a real solid bed, not IKEA furniture. And quick honorable mention, the Stjarno. This one is simple, affordable, and surprisingly versatile. It can work in a variety of styles, modern, minimal, even slightly eclectic, and it looks just fine without needing any extra styling. Okay folks, and this is my list of things to get and things to avoid at IKEA. I know I focus more on furniture just because IKEA's catalog is so enormous that if I were to include decor pieces, rugs, and everything else, this video would be too long. So let me know in the comments if you like a part 2, and I could talk about my preferences in lighting, art, and stuff like that at IKEA as well. So that's it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.